Okay, welcome back. We are continuing the campaign diary series. We are picking up right where we left off last time, in the middle of the mass battle, the Battle of Stormveil. And we are picking up right as an old character arrives back to the party. Sonya, a character piloted by my friend Misha. And this all starts maybe like 8 months ago when Misha came to me and he said, Sam, I'm not having a good time with Ranger. Is there something that we can do? And I said, yes. We can do a full retrain. Let's just do it. We're trying to have fun. I'm not really in the interest of like pigeonholing my players into things that they don't want to do. So what we come up with is a plan by which Sonya can exit the campaign and basically earn the levels that she wants to take, so that she can re-enter the campaign as a new character without having it feel like we kind of just magicked it all away. Misha wanted to feel like he earned it, or at least I wanted to feel like Sonya earned something in her absence. I feel kind of bad for not cutting in the other player, Kai, on this, but in a very climactic battle, a character dies. And I think, in retrospect, yes, I probably should have cut him in on that deal, as to not like give him like a bunch of like emotional whiplash from that moment. But I feel like it really did serve the story in the moment, where Sonya, her magic, her ranger magic in the backstory is justified as coming from this like fungal source from her home world, where she like ingested this fungi as a part of like some ritual when she was gaining her powers, and that's basically the justification for why she has magic in the world. What we did is like she was able to cast Revivify on the fallen character Ivar. However, in order to do that, she would have to give up all of her ranger levels. And I remember it was a very climactic moment at the table where after all that had happened, and I described as like fungus and like vines coated Ivar's body and then wilted away, bringing him new life. At the end of all that, I said, okay, Misha, get rid of all your ranger levels. And everyone else in the party was like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, yep, get rid of them. And Misha was like, okay. he played his part well. I'm very proud of him for that. In the interim, what we did, while Misha played a substitute character named Kier, who is a paladin, who is extremely powerful. But what we did in the interim was we had a system, it was very much like a play-by-text system, where I would use skill challenges, basically, to simulate character like training moments. They started out like pretty easy, like DC 13, 14, like get 5 successes before 3 failures, that kind of thing. And they would ramp up in difficulty as Sonya gained her levels back. I found it to be a really interesting system. I think it turned out very well. What we did was like we framed the skill challenges within the context of like training and story, where Sonya, while she's retraining, she's also training this new group of basically like recruits to the organization that the players have, and she's like growing alongside them and growing alongside this organization that's kind of in the background for like the main party while they go out and save the world. For Sonya, it became like much more involved, and Misha and the character became much more invested in the process by which this organization grew. And by doing that, Sonya had an active role in its development rather than the backseat that the characters were taking. What I tried to do was, towards like as the skill challenges went on, I would give Misha like a choice of like 3 things that he could do, and they would give him levels in a certain class or levels in any class that he wanted, and some other kind of reward, like a magic item, or like a follower, a cool NPC follower, or just something like flavor-based that he would enjoy. And I think that really added a lot of nuance to the system that would have been really like monotonous had it been just like, oh, we're just gonna do like a bunch of skill challenges. I think what happened was he was able to discover the new character as it was happening, rather than be like, oh, I know how I'm going to invest my skills. I know how I'm going to build this. I'm just going to let this happen to me. Which I think giving up that level of control is like kind of difficult, but I think that really speaks to the level of trust that he and I have, where we were able to do something like that. And we kind of just launched right into it. Neither of us really knew what we were doing. Because of that, when the players in the normal party, when they ask like, "Hey, what the fuck have you been doing this whole time?" She has stuff to say. She's been up to a lot of stuff. She has switched from ranger into a battlemaster swashbuckler rogue multi-class, and oh my god, it is nasty. He's putting up way more numbers than he was able to with the ranger levels, and I can tell he's also having more fun with it. There's a lot more nuance to what he's able to do. He's built it in a very particular way to do a very particular thing, and it's working out very well for him. Not to say that ranger is like a bad class or anything, especially with the Tasha's redesigns. I think it works a lot better than it used to. However, the bottom line was that Misha just wasn't having fun with it, and we were able to adapt and come up with a solution that suited both parties equally. And I think we're definitely being rewarded in terms of story for it. After that happened, after Sonya shows up, as we ended the last episode, the Neothalid, that guy, erupts from the ground right in front of the walls to Stormveil, and just immediately begins drawing the ire of the players and drawing the ire of their NPC allies that were there. Which makes sense. It's by far the biggest threat on the board. It doesn't have like a ton of stuff that it can do, but it's got a lot of hit points. It deals a lot of damage, and it does have some strange tricks that you really wouldn't expect it to have. The main trick that it has that you wouldn't expect it to have, Feeble Mind. And one of the players found out the hard way what Feeble Mind does. He's standing on the wall, facing down this massive worm, thinking it's about to like come for him and like bite him and swallow him up. But then I say, "Okay, Calvin, make an intelligence saving throw." And he's like, "What?" Feeble Mind, it can be really nasty. It can be. I think it really depends. Mileage varies based on like what class people are playing and like whether they have access to spells or not. But yeah, for him it's like not that bad, like because he's playing a monk, and what monks do is they just go around and punch shit. It's really not that hard. I guess it does affect. He was playing a four elements monk, and there were some like spells based stuff in there. He recently picked up the fireball, like one like technique that you can do. He's been enjoying that quite a bit. But so he can't really do that anymore, but the monk bread and butter is still there. So he's not really like super adversely affected by it from like a mechanical combat stance, but he can't communicate intelligently, which is which is like the main hurdle. But he can still, identify who his friends are, who his enemies are, and he can protect them, and he can fight stuff. So we're getting along just fine, and he's finding funny ways to cope. So when that happened, like there were some of the people who were like into Critical Role and like been more like involved with like D&D spaces. When I start to describe the symptoms, they immediately go, "Oh shit." Like they know what it is immediately. And that was honestly the effect that I wanted. I wanted them to encounter this kind of iconic spell and walk away from it, not feeling like they got gotcha'd by it, but like what I'm hoping is like they can be like, "Oh, we encountered this thing and we've survived it." It's also like towards this point where I realize how quickly the worm's hit points are ticking down. The players, again, they're highly competent. They are focusing it down very well, especially one of them has paladin levels, so smites are flying across the board very quickly, and this thing's hit points are decreasing very rapidly. So I'm just like, fuck it. I'm gonna go for broke. And I have it swallow Sonya. It doesn't do too much damage, but just like, again, it's like those iconic moments. It's like those big dramatic scenes where people really, really feel like they're in the shit. Like, how will they get out of this one, really? Because they don't really know how many hit points the worm has left. They only know that it's taken a lot and it's still going. It swallows Sonya. Everyone's like, oh no. Like, it's looking bad. And I tell Misha that she'll take basically, what, on average, maybe like 23 acid damage on the start of its next turn if she doesn't get out. And she like can't do anything while she's in there, like blinded and restrained. So it's looking bleak for our heroes until basically the next turn when the paladin swings his axe at it. It explodes. Which is fine. It's fine. They clean up the rest of the Rothians pretty quickly. And from there they transition into a short rest. I think that they didn't really talk very much, if at all, during the short rest in character. I think, from what I'm gathering, I think they're waiting until like a lull in the drama in order to have their characters decompress and reconnect with Sonya. I totally understand. They've got like business to do. The ship that all these creatures came from is still there. An organization that the group is allied with, called the Knights of the Silver Skull, they've been fighting the ship, and they have pulled back, but they were able to disable it. So the idea is that the crew will load up on a transport and scurry on up there. As the group is making their way to convene with the Jarl, basically like the leader of the town, and some of the other like officials who were there, like some coalition people that they know, some marshals people that they know, basically to like regroup, assess what they're going to do, and execute on that plan. The group is approached by an old woman who asks to speak with Ivar. This is alluding to a character that I've been sowing the seeds of for literally about a year now, of like in real world time. This character is known as the Angel of the Outer Rim. If you're one of my players, look away. She's a planetar, and she does her best to try and like protect the people of the Outer Rim. But you know, she's only one being, one incredibly powerful being, but she can't get it all done by herself. And this character is of like a mythic level of importance to the organization that the players have effectively like resurrected, known as the Marshals. The Angel of the Outer Rim is of like a mythic, near religious level of importance to this organization. I don't think all of them, not all of them, picked up on it right away. But Kai, you know, he's a great player. Upon having this happen, he didn't really just he didn't push away the old woman, like be like, fuck you, old lady, I got shit to do. I'm an important hero. He went along with it. He yes-anded me. She took his arm, and they walked away. Basically throughout, I think he got it throughout the course of the conversation who he was talking to. She asks him mainly about fear. And as I view it, one's relationship with fear is like an essential part of Ivar's story. He ran away from home, and he accepted a pact with this malign weapon that he used to have out of anxiety about his future, about his prospects. He wanted to make something for himself, and he feared that he was going to be wasted in the system that he was in. So he took a chance and he ran with it. Since he forsook that weapon, again, as we touched on in the last episode, he's been very like cagey. He's being very tactical with what he does, what he commits himself to. And he basically says, like, in a very roundabout way, he says yes, like he is experiencing fear. The angel offers him guidance. She offers him a friend who knows a thing or two about fear. Reluctantly, he accepts her help. And in a blink of an eye, she transports him across the galaxy to a seemingly serene world where there's green grass as far as the eye can see, rolling hills, forests in the distance, blue sky above, a gentle breeze in the air. It's at that moment when he's looking around at this serene landscape where he notices a handle sticking out of the ground. It's like ornate, it's golden, very well crafted, seemingly like alien in some way. It's a morning star. When he goes to pick it up, he clasps it with his hand, wrenches it out of the earth, and then immediately he's transported back in time to a battle that took place decades ago. There's carnage all around him. It looks like the sky is on fire. There's no battle lines. It's complete and utter carnage. Just violence and death in its purest form. It's as he's reeling from this that he hears "Vincent!" from across the field. He sees striding towards him a massive hobgoblin with plate mail armor stained in blood and gore, with chains hanging from around his neck connecting to skulls and severed heads. And in his right hand he holds a massive, like Thanos style from Endgame, double-bladed greatsword. He points at Ivar. And that's where we ended the game. It's a weird place. And I'm really excited for it. We're moving into single combat, which is something that we're trying for the first time. I'm trying to run it for the first time. I have some interesting systems in place to see how it'll work. These past few sessions have been really fast and the furious with combat. It's like 2 basically full combat sessions in a row, followed by jumping into yet another combat, like right off the bat. So what I'm hoping for here is like a more cinematic kind of battle. I'm hoping that we can find more of the intersection between the role play and the combat. And I think it'll also be interesting because Ivar is going to find out throughout the course of the battle that he's not really playing himself. He's playing another very instrumental figure in the Marshal's history, the one who will give him the advice that he needs. So yeah, I'm extremely excited. I'm hoping that the other players will be alright with this. We're pretty good with like role play moments and like allowing people to have their space. I'm hoping that they will allow this moment to breathe and like not get bored by it. I couldn't really, in the time that I had, I couldn't really find a way to get them involved that didn't really feel gimmicky, especially because there's like, they are not there. And this is a very like self-contained story moment for this one PC. And I think I want to let that breathe on its own, and I'm going to mention that to the players like beforehand. So they'll probably understand. What am I saying? The game is technically right now. I said that I would be late because I needed to record this. So yeah. Alright, I guess it's over. Cool. Bye. Thanks. I love Edward.